which niche in the travel vlogging industry makes the most amount of money?
At one point, we were both doing these odd jobs and we would use all of that money to finance our travels.
What are the different revenue channels and what would the percentages look like for something like that?
50% I would say comes from
Social media, sponsorship.
Can you help us understand what a typical vlogging project looks like? If you could help us understand, like, say, a step-by-step breakdown of how y'all started and what would be the first step that a student should take. I'd love to understand what is good money in this industry.
Yeah, right.
So let's say that I have 100,000 followers.
But for somebody with 100,000 followers, I would say...
Welcome to yet another episode of The How. I am particularly excited about this episode because we are meeting with Vid and Savi, aka the Bruised Passports. They're India's pioneering travel vloggers. They have set the tone for travel vlogging as an industry and a career in India today. They have not just traveled 108 countries around the world, they have authored a book, and most importantly, they've figured out a way to earn money while they're traveling. Vid and Savi are going to tell us if travel vlogging is a legitimate career option for you. They're also going to teach us the blueprint of actually becoming a travel vlogger, and most importantly, which niche in the travel vlogging industry makes the most amount of money. We're going to learn all of this and more, and I can't wait for all of us to do this. Let's go hit it. The place where I want to start is to enter this conversation with a place where I'm a student, young person looking to actually start the most difficult part, taking the first step. If you could help us understand, like, say, a step-by-step breakdown of how y'all started and what would be the first step that a student should take, considering that they want to start this journey.
I think that for us, starting was much scarier because this industry was non-existent then. So it was literally like making a template on the go. So for us, it was a momentous decision. But I think for students today, what's good is that you have a lot of examples to look at. And then you can decide, oh, this is how I want to design my life, or this is how I want to design my life, and then take it from there. So that is one of the good things. But obviously, one of the bad things, or one of the things that we perhaps had it easier that way, was that the industry is also getting more and more saturated. So it's very important to find a niche for anybody who's beginning. And so it's very important to sit by yourself and have a talk with yourself about what you really want to do. How do you want your life to look in 5 years? And then take it from there, right?
But, and Shreyansh, you said it yourself, like taking that first step, right? So let's take our example, right? We were both in London, we were working, and we already loved traveling. And when we moved to Europe, we started traveling. It's like one of the pacts that we made. There was no intention of starting a blog or anything at that point. And we had been to 50 countries and a lot of cities, because when you are in Europe, it's easy to explore, right? And all our relatives, they had started seeing our personal Facebook channels, and they were like, okay, we are planning to go to Paris. What do you? And Savi used to maintain a journal at that time. So she would just, form an email and send it to the relative that you can do this, this, this. And when that became a pattern, I was like, hang on, there is clearly a need for this. Not many people are doing it, like it was unheard of. So let's just start a website and a Facebook channel. And that's how it started. But Savi, and that's why I come to Savi, because she had a vision. She was like, no, we are not going to just treat it as a hobby, because then we will never be able to do it full professional justice. So we will start with the aim that it will be a very, very polished, professional looking, actual value-driven website. We always recommend everyone to have a website, no matter what the profession is. Because that will always be your outlet. That's not controlled by other algorithms or, other things. That's totally where you express yourself.
Got it. Like a place for distribution.
Exactly.
Having an audience or building a community.
Exactly.
In the interest of that, the first step should be to create a distribution platform across whichever channel that is convenient.
Absolutely. And social media is a very important part of it too. I mean, of course, you have a website, but you also have a social media channel. But I think what's more and more important on social media these days is that because it's a more and more saturated industry, you need to think of it as your digital CV more than a place where you have thousands of followers.
Correct.
Because that is the place that people will come to when they want to see what your work is like. What do you do? Hypothetically, if a student is a designer, they know they're talented, but they want to travel as well, then social media is such a good place to share your work. You could also be sitting in Bali and working remotely on a design project. You know what I mean? So let your social media be a digital CV and aspire to bringing quality work which does justice to your niche instead of chasing virality or chasing followers. Because in the end, that's what gets you the brand deals. In the end, that's what builds brand identity.
Oh, I can't wait for us to go down that rabbit hole.
Let's summarize. Step one. Decide what you want to experiment with. And I will say experiment because it will always be like that until you hone it. Right?
But have intense conviction about it.
Of course. I mean, goes without saying. Next, you decide whether you want to focus on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, it helps to have your eggs in all baskets. But you still have to have one kind of focus that, I want to do long form video, right? And then let's say you have a sum of money kept aside for this experiment. You take 10% out of it and you spend it on your equipment. Like, your mic and your camera, not more than that. Right. Because the first step is to use a chunk of that money to actually establish what you are going to be good at. And trust me, that takes trial and error. It won't be that you suddenly make your first video or you travel to your first destination and you'll be like, this is my style.
This is what I want to do forever.
It keeps evolving, but you have to allocate a decent chunk, I would say 60%, to actually travel, to actually create content, to actually see what works for you. Because like with any other business, this is capital expenditure. Like, you're honing your product. There's going to be failure. There's going to be that, oh no, this didn't work. Hostel didn't work. An average hotel worked. Or I want to be luxury. I want to travel with a partner. You spend that time. And then you just focus on that. So after you have established what you want to do, day in, day out, you churn out good content, you interact, you meet people. And most importantly, you have fun. I know it sounds cliched, but...
No, you have to have fun.
An alternate thing will not work if you are not having fun.
To move into the direction of, when all of these people are reaching out to you. When I say people, I'm talking about brands and, there are multiple different revenue channels that have been unlocked, especially in the journey that you both have been in. This could be sponsored trips or sponsorships. This could be the book that you both have written, and I'd love to know more about that as well. Can we make a safe assumption? Let's say that, you've got 100 rupees that's coming in. In this 100 rupees that would be coming in, what would you apportion towards sponsorships? What portion would you say is towards the revenue that comes from the book? And what are the different revenue channels and what would the percentages look like for something like that? That's something that I would love to visualize alongside
like if it's a pie of 100.
So I think book is
book is more of a passion project.
I absolutely love that Savi mentioned that this book was a passion project. Let me correct you guys. Your lives are a passion project. I'm categorically calling that out because I heard you and I was like, wait, you're living this reality.
That's very kind of you. Of course, it took a lot of time and patience to write it. And but in terms of monetary compensation, let's say, it's not the most giving project, but it's something that was very soul satisfying.
Let's say 2%.
2% of the 100.
Of the 100.
Got it.
The book.
And
I would say 10 to 15% would be the website. So website, and that's why we keep stressing on that, because website, once you, and again, with anything, like with anything, you have to put in the effort. So SEO, and I'm a computer engineer by education. So when we started the website, I made sure that it ranks high.
Yes.
That's why I said we work well together. I do the writing, he does the
we get
back
some
end.
passive income from that. Like, you know, there are ads there. So I would say 10 to 15% comes from that. 10 to 15% also comes from our freelance projects, like someone wants me to shoot somewhere, or someone wants Savi to write an article.
Magazines and newspapers and things
so
like
that makes it like 30 to 35%. 50% I would say comes from
social media, sponsorships, ads, things like that. And then of course,
the remaining 15%, we have a pact that we make each other work and we pay each other some salary.
No, I feel like more and more, increasingly, we're diversifying into passive investments, you know.
Right.
Because as you said, if we had a pie of 100 at the beginning of our careers, we used to spend almost 80% of that on travel and 20 on a rainy day fund. But as your income increases, you are still spending as much on travel, but it becomes a smaller percentage because you're now earning more.
Right.
So increasingly over the years, we are trying more and more to make passive investments as well. So yeah, lots of income streams, and diversifying your income streams is always a good idea.
So, you know, when you were describing this entire pie of how the revenue is broken down, I'd love to understand what is good money in this industry.
Yeah, right.
So let's say that I have 100,000 followers. I want to know a great benchmark and what I'm working towards.
I mean, I feel like there is no higher benchmark, you know. It's
See,
all
sky's the
about-
limit on the top.
Sky's the limit, and also it depends on how you envisage your venture, in which direction you envisage your venture to go. But for somebody with 100,000 followers, I would say 10 lakhs maybe is a good amount to aspire to.
A month.
No, and yeah.
But you know, see that's
Nice, I love that question.
No,
I love it.
Because we ourselves have seen this industry evolve so quickly. Because you know, everybody wants to get on the bandwagon of social media marketing without actually seeing what the long-term repercussion is, what the ROI is. So sometimes we have heard of like insane
people making
amounts.
astronomical sums, but it all levels out. I feel like if you're in it for the long term, then 10 lakhs is a good figure to aspire to if you have 100,000
But
followers.
you can aspire to 1 CR as well, and that depends on
aspiration with to kya jata hai? You
Right.
can
And we're
aspire.
also saying, say, realistically.
Let's say you've amassed 100,000 followers, right? Now there will be a lot of brands who would love to work with you. Okay. Given that you resonate with their target audience. Right. And what will happen then is that there will be months where you will probably have the option of having one sponsored post a day.
Right.
So if you do that, then you can maybe earn 50 lakhs a year.
But I feel like when you have 100,000 followers, you're probably looking at growing as well. And you don't want to inundate your followers with a sponsored post every day.
I understand.
Right?
Right.
So it's also not just about amassing as much money as you can within the year, because
but
you're
making it
in it for the
sustainable.
long term.
So that's
it
what I
needs to be
meant. That,
sustainable.
you can do as much as you want, because I'm sure a lot of people will want to work with you, but you will be diluting your brand.
And when I go from 100,000 to maybe 500,000, or I'm growing slowly and I'm growing year on year, some posts have done extremely well. I'm now sitting at like 500,000 followers. Does that grow linearly? Like, do I make into 5x of 10 lakhs or?
It doesn't, because I think what happens is that you find your niche. So now what happens is that a restaurant in Defense Colony in Delhi sees your video of Humayun's tomb and says, oh, this is the vision we want for our restaurant or our cafe. Why don't you come and shoot our cafe and do a film for us? So thereby generating now another stream of income, because it's not they don't want you to advertise the cafe on your social media. They just like the way you look at things, and they want you to do the same with that cafe. So depending on how enterprising you are, you can create several parallel revenue streams.
Right.
Or you could stick to that one. So it's never a linear process. It all depends on what you envision for yourself and the life that you envision for yourself as well. In the content creation industry or the travel vlogging industry, there is a holy triumvirate. Of course, you are one part of that triangle, and you need to benefit. This is a business, you need to benefit. Then the other part is your followers. Even they need value-laden content, so they need to benefit. If somebody is following you, then of course they need to benefit from that whole interaction. And then there are brands. So brands also need to benefit. So if you do put a sponsored post every day, the followers and the brands are not benefiting. You're the only one benefiting. And so it's going to die a death, a very quick death.
I've always thought about this because we're in this industry, and when brands work with us, there is a typical amount of time that I think gets lost when students or whenever somebody outside is looking at it.
Right.
You have to make the call. You have to speak to a brand.
Right.
You have to explain the vision of what you're intending to do to the brand.
Yeah.
The brand then agrees to do this. You have a certain set of deliverables. After those deliverables have agreed upon, you're going to go on that trip.
Exactly.
You are going to create that content, deliver that content to the brand.
Yeah.
The brand is then going to confirm/disapprove, which they have a choice on for some reason also, which is fair also. And once they've received that, after that process is done is when you are going and raising an invoice.
Right.
Then it is going to take a significant amount of 30 to 60 business working days for this amount to sort of... sorry, my trauma is playing out in this conversation.
But I was about to say that you sound like a travel vlogger.
I have intense PTSD from said conversation for the same reason.
From the industry per se, is there a certain amount of time that you spend on a particular brand deal? From the time that you started to the time that you close that, what would be the typical amount of duration to realize that value of, like, say, 10 lakhs in the beginning, or not even in the beginning, but like when you're at a certain number? What is the duration for a brand deal that I may do?
I think we've been very fortunate because it's been such a gradual incline for us, you know, and brands have been seeing our style, our growth, all of that very closely. So when we do work with brands, we are very, very selective. And that's really helped us because then the process is a lot more seamless.
It's more collaborative.
It's more collaborative. So the process, it's not as if, they're going to say, we don't like this, because they contact us because they like what we do or our vision. And then we collaborate together to do something fun.
Just for the audience that is watching this, when we speak about brand deals, what we're effectively talking about is that there is a brand that wants to collaborate with with Savi and Vid in this case to basically promote whatever it is that the brand stands for. It could be a location, it could be a brand, it could be any of that that the brand is invested in promoting. Which is why they are paying you a sum of money to ensure that your distribution, your community, and your quality of content is going to help the brand reach out to more people who could potentially come to that venue. Can I take a career trajectory of like a creator who or of like a travel vlogger? And can I say that I'll follow this end to end? And will I arrive at my current the reality that I'm hoping is the Bruised Passports reality? Can I follow that path? There are two parts to that question. One, is that even a thing? And number two, if yes or no, what is that path like for Bruised Passports also?
So the answer to that is yes, you can create that reality for yourself. But the second part of the answer is I would never recommend plagiarizing is the wrong word, but cut pasting somebody's formula, purely because that might not do justice to your talent or your niche or what makes you excited, you know. So I would advise two things to anybody a student who wants to get into this. Firstly, let's say, and you find X person who inspires you. Don't go by the nuggets that you see on Instagram, you know, the 10-second nugget you see of somebody talking about their journey. So delve deeper. If somebody inspires you, delve deeper into their journey, see what they did, because these days there are so many YouTube videos, podcasts about successful people. So delve deeper into the minds of whoever has inspired you and take inspiration from their journey, but don't cut paste their formula.
You have to have your own style on it. So you might be able to follow the curve, the reference points on the trajectory, because that will work as a formula. Right? But the content, the masala, as they say, has to be your own. Like, you know, the concoction.
Tarka, not the masala. The tarka has to be
the
your
uniqueness.
Own. The uniqueness.
So, let's assume that I have 5,000 rupees today. I have 5,000 rupees in my pocket. I want to figure out what should be the first step that I take as a potential travel vlogger, because I've not become one yet.
Of course.
What should be the first move that I make with this 5,000 rupees? If it was 5,000 rupees and you were to break that down into percentages and say, spend this much on X, Y, and Z, what would that sort of look like?
First of all, I would say कि थोड़ा और ले आओ यार.
Right.
But let's say 5,000.
No, but let's say you
and
have
we'll just
5,000.
proportion it.
Yeah.
Right.
Out of that, I wouldn't worry so much about camera and this and that to begin with.
Yeah.
Maybe a very basic tripod if you're traveling solo.
Yeah.
And even a phone will do.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. In fact, most good content is created on the phone, so
and
don't let the
then
lack
you
of it
start, like I said earlier as well, you spend 3,000 rupees to book 3 trips for yourself in a month. Now, that could be any sum, but why I say 3 trips is because you have to have that range to understand whether you like hills, whether you like beaches, whether you like road trips. And I'm assuming that this person has never left their room, right? So this is your discovery phase. So you will have to spend, given that it's travel blogging, you have to spend 3,000 on that. And then
do an odd job, save some money, and then spend on experiences. That's how we started,
so,
and that's what we
work your odd jobs because this will need recurrent money. And when we were able to also do it because we had paying jobs, like we were working in corporate jobs. So our kind of influx into this venture came from that. We saved on other things, but let's say it's a student who hasn't started working and they have this pot. So very minimal amount, like 500 rupees on technical stuff. 3,000 or to do 3 trips, create some content. These could be day trips.
I mean,
go from Gurgaon to
Humayun's tomb. I mean, there are so many historical gems in Delhi, and no matter how saturated the content creation market is, you can always bring your unique perspective to things, you know. So even if you make a gorgeous video about visiting the offbeat gems of Delhi or visiting Safdarjung tomb and all these historical marvels in Delhi, it could do very well on social media.
So you still have kind of 1,500 rupees.
Yes.
I mean, of course, you will eat and all.
Of course,
but that you would have done anyway. So this we are talking just about. And 1,500, say you then out of those 3 trips, you were like, okay, I love the biking trip.
Or the content from this trip did better. You know, this is my way to monetize it. So let's do more of this.
And you know, the best thing, and we have seen a lot of people do this, is that they travel and then they do odd jobs when they are traveling. So someone goes to the hills, they work in a cafe, right? And they're also working on their storytelling, on their how to frame, because it will never come
you need to be
overnight.
Consistently enterprising and not let your vision suffer in any way, shape, or form. I think that's what's important.
Let's assume that we book these trips. And I'm very well on the journey to now become a travel vlogger. Because the tickets have been booked.
Of course.
I am now going to do this. My objective here, what does success look like? What is the outcome, apart from having a great time, of course?
That is an incredible question. When we were all conditioned to, at one point in our lives, become doctors or engineers or lecturers or teachers, the idea of success was very homogeneous. It was about a good car or a good house and things. But the crux of every creative...
Wife, good husband.
But the crux of every good creative profession is that success is heterogeneous. It can mean different things to different people. So for somebody, earning a lot of money in a creative profession might be success. For somebody else, having a lot of followers might be success. But I think for the two of us, it's because of why we started doing this, it's very important to have a good work-life balance, you know. We want to be able to spend good amounts of time with each other and let that love that we have thrive as well, in addition to what's happening in the professional domain.
Absolutely.
So for this let's assume this single person, guy or girl, who doesn't care about spending it with someone.
Exactly.
Totally focused that So the success for me, if I have to picture myself doing that at the age of 20, like 2 years ago, then it would be that I come back, I've made 3 videos out of this one trip. I have made 3 different kinds of videos. One was a cinematic one was a talking one, and one was where I was explaining whatever was going on. I'm just taking random examples.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I do that, I edit that, I put it out, and even if 10 people see it,
Yeah.
for me that is success.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
again, that is very subjective.
No,
It
but-
will vary
but
from
that is
people to
how-
people, but I would say
Yeah.
for someone starting out,
Yeah.
that should be the definition
Yeah.
of success.
Awesome. Awesome. So, this thing that I've been thinking about is to get into action mode as a vlogger.
Yeah.
I want to think in terms of a vlogging project. Can you help us understand what a typical vlogging project looks like?
Right.
You're sitting and planning it, like there's ideation. There is also the execution of the project.
Yeah.
And there's also how you package it.
Okay.
I just want to understand what the typical process of a vlogging project would look like in just steps that you could help break it down into.
Let's say we work a lot with tourism boards and hotels. That is a large chunk of our work. Let's say we're going to an X country with a tourism board. So as you rightly said, ideation comes first. We get on a call with the client, see what they want from us. And then as Vid mentioned earlier, it's very much a collaborative process. They tell us, oh, we really like it when you do little tours of the city. Can you do that for us? And then we say, oh, what do you eventually want from this? Do you want people to visit the city? Do you want people to visit a hotel? So we have a conversation at the ideation stage with the client, understand their needs, and then we develop a brief based on what they want. A lot of research goes into this if it's a new city, and even if it's not, you want to research well. So that is the ideation part of it. The execution, I think you can explain better.
Is, let's say you have reached that city, and based on the idea that you've formed, what the brand wants, what you want, and what your audience will like. Again, the triangle. You shoot the content there. Right? So let's say it's a week-long project. You make all the content, you cover, you make sure that you're telling a nice story to tempt people to visit that place.
And what's very important in travel especially is to be flexible. So you could ideate all you want, but if the weather doesn't agree with you, you have to have a plan B. And so it's always very important to think of a plan B and sometimes even a plan C at the ideation stage itself, because in the execution, there's only one go. It's not like you can change an outfit or you're in a closed studio or things like that. You're outside and you're at the mercy of Mother Nature. So
and the execution is over. We're back home now. But the actual work starts
now.
Because that's when you start packaging. You start curating the content. You go through all the content. You remember. You go back to your notebook saying, "This is what we need to make. This is our vision," and you start editing. So that is where the editing part comes in.
The editing table takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
We have then let's say after a few days your edit is over. You send it to the client. Then there is again a back and forth. Some
as you mentioned,
some changes, and you work through that, and then finally the finished piece of content goes up on your social media.
Understood.
But for us, it should be, there is also an analysis, a post-mortem, so to say. How did this content perform? Whether the brand got what they wanted, what are the people, what are the readers, what are the viewers saying? You make a report of that and you share it with the brand, because you're not in this for just one project and out. You want to build relations.
Absolutely.
So you want to give your best, and this is how you are telling to the world that you are very professional from start to finish, and you are dealing with this project, this vlogging project, like any other project.
In the career of travel vlogging, because it does not operate in the conventional sense. You're not getting paid month on month in the same way. It's variable. And the variable is also dependent on what is happening in your lives in that month, how many projects, all of that's happening. How do you budget? Like, how do you budget life, number one? Knowing that you also have all of the expenses that you would have on one side, and also the trips that you have to plan for the future.
I think when you're starting out, then you need to do it weekly.
We would do it a lot more frequently when we started out.
And as you progress, as you know that corpus grows, because the idea is, and again, no right or wrong, but when you earn something, you put a dedicated percentage to one side, right? Then you invest some of it, and of course, in our case, that investment also means that we want to
Invest in future trips. Yeah.
Trips.
So I think when you're starting out, what you need to figure is that you need to, let's say you're earning 100 rupees.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that hypothesis. Then you definitely need to keep 20% of it for a rainy day sum, because you could need it sometime in life, right?
Yeah.
And then of course 20 to 30 of that goes into your food and expenses, regular expenses.
Right.
Then come the indulgences. Now that you have 50 rupees left, you could spend it on a night out of partying with your friends, or maybe you could book a day trip for
Right.
yourself to create content, and that's a priority. If that's a priority, then you'll do that. But as your income grows, as the 100 becomes 200, then you can obviously either save more or spend more.
Right.
So in our case, we do a bi-monthly meeting. Well, it's not a meeting. We just sit together and bounce ideas off each other and say, you know what, we should definitely look at spending X amount on this trip that we really want to go on. Let's say it's seeing the Northern Lights. But at the same time, I also feel like we should save. And that's how, those are our two priorities.
Right.
Diversifying our investments and saving on the one hand and traveling more on the other.
When you're starting out, then you have to be very mindful of your expenses.
Right. Oh man, it's like how we were earlier talking about this entire idea of if you're at 100K and you are going to make X amount, you're going to make 10 lakh rupees potentially. And those numbers are obviously fluid depending on what you're doing. But if you are at 100K, there are many people today, as you were mentioning, as it has become saturated.
Yeah.
How do you stand out in this entire process?
Yeah.
And how do you get discovered by a brand?
Well, I feel like the industry has become a lot more nuanced now, and this is good news for both the brands and the content creators.
Right.
Because somebody with a 100K following back, let's say 5 years ago, could afford to be just a travel content creator. But now they need to figure out whether they want to create content in a slow village in Himachal Pradesh, or they want to do adventure sports in Iceland, or what their vibe is.
Yeah.
And once they do that, that's when the right brands reach out to you as well. So
Right.
first is, of course, developing your niche, understanding your niche and then developing it and making it progress. And how brands find you is also, there are so many agencies now who are doing just that. They liaise between brands and content creators. So the industry is just evolving more and more, and that is one way for brands to discover content creator.
So to summarize that point, I think that we're looking at please go for it.
No, we are looking at just sticking to your niche.
Yeah.
And turning up for the job every day.
Yeah.
Doling out content.
Yeah.
And making sure that you have built a community.
Yeah.
That resonates with your ideas. The
Yeah.
moment that fit is made, brands will. It won't be long before it appears
Word
on
of mouth.
certain brands' feed
Yeah.
or Explore feed,
Yeah.
and they will reach out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say that you are you're a content creator. You're publishing across, say, Instagram or on a blog, or whatever your format may be. What are the metrics that you are tracking to see success?
Yeah.
So just help us understand,
Yeah.
even if it is quick bullet points,
Yeah.
to just say what are the metrics to follow when a creator is putting out content as a travel vlogger.
Yeah. I think for the website, it's SEO rankings, because
Okay.
that can help you get discovered from different parts of the world, not
Right.
just from within your community. For Instagram, what's important are the comments and how engaged the comments are. It's very easy to go through the comments and see how many people are actually talking about what's
Yeah.
happening in the post, you
Right.
know.
I think for
Website.
Instagram, a recent metric I would say is also how many people have saved and shared that post.
Yeah,
Like more
that's
than a
also-
like, I would consider a save or a share as a success,
Yeah.
because that means that this person is on the fence,
Yeah.
About
has liked this
converting,
thing
yeah.
and has saved it or shared it with his or her partner or friend,
family
saying we should
member.
do this.
I want to find out a little bit more about this community piece, which is where do you think it goes from here? And what does the community play for any travel vlogger also when they're thinking of building community? What should they keep in mind And what's the future play of building communities?
I think that the community will always be at the heart or the core of content creation. And I've always believed that from day one, because it's at a very basic level, it's like finding your tribe. So we would really recommend anybody who's getting into the space to truly honor their community, take time to understand their problems, respond to their messages, respond to their comments. I think the idea with that will always be to offer more and more value to the community as things, as artificial intelligence gets bigger, as more and more people are using their mobile phones to book holidays and research for holidays and things. I think the idea will be to bring even more value in a world where it's very superfluous. A lot of social media these days is very superficial. We'll attempt to bring more and more value, and I hope that that will be our legacy, as it were, to our followers. Yeah.
I think building community is the easier part, because once you are doling out content which has a certain kind of stamp to it, or a certain ideology to it, you will attract people who believe in that.
Yes.
Right? It's actually the nurturing and keeping it going is the challenging part, and that is where effort comes in from you.
These sort of niches in which that you can actually operate. Right? You know, you found a way to actually impact the community. I want to actually take a step back and look at the multiple different niches that exist in the travel vlogging industry.
Right.
My question is, which niche in the travel vlogging industry makes the most amount of money?
Okay, fundamentally, that is a flawed question to ask of yourself. If you want to become successful,
especially at travel vlogging, because it requires so much of you. I mean, if you're in it just to make money, travel vlogging is not the space.
No, we would say don't get into travel vlogging if the sole aim is to make money. Go into some other form of vlogging, maybe. What you need to ask yourself is that, A, what am I good at? Identify that. Coming back to the fundamentals, identify what you're good at. You love doing solo trips and discovering all hostels in the world. You make that. And then you figure out how you make money out of that. You don't choose something just based on data that, oh, this made more money, so I'm going to do this. Because 1 year maybe you will make money, but then you will burn out.
Okay, so to sum it up, travel vlogging is not the vlogging style that makes the most money because of these two reasons. One, that you constantly have to put your body in uncomfortable situations, which might not be the best thing for you if you're not passionate about it, right? So after 6 months, it gets really boring. But also because you need to spend a lot of money to book said trips, right? So that is also why the return on investment isn't as great as it could be with fashion or makeup or some other stream.
But are you asking within travel vlogging?
If you were to ask within travel vlogging, now there are so many different niches. Adventure is one, budget is one, luxury, sustainability. There are so many different niches, but there is no one that earns more than the other. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how enterprising you are and who you're collaborating with, because you could be an adventure sports travel vlogger and you could be earning in the crores, let's say, but you could be a luxury travel vlogger who's very selective about the places they work with and not be earning as much.
A travel vlogger today deciding to enter the industry, what are the different future avenues that they should look at seriously?
I think once you've built the community of 100K followers, as you said, it's important as the industry grows to be able to diversify more so today than it was 5 years ago. So whether it's a product line, let's say it's merch or travel accessories or something tech. If that is your domain, then something tech. It could be an app. It could be travel bookings for your community. Little things like that. I think it's important to diversify into a different direction just for an alternate source of income as well. And I think we'll see more and more smaller content creators doing that kind of thing in the future. And I'm really excited to see what it holds.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
This is the fourth episode.
Very good.
Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it.
They need some bloopers. अच्छा वाला करना है. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was so good.
Genuinely appreciate it.
No,
Thank you, friend.
This was a great.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to yet another incredible episode of The How. This is 01 by Zerodha. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's a lot more coming your way.